All right. Hey guys. Welcome to first live stream I've done in a long time. Just thought that we have basically about 24 hours until the Mavic 2 is released. So thought I'd just kind of get together with you guys and chat a little bit about it. So one of the new things that came out today, so we've had a lot of leaks that have came out recently, right? And today, the newest one is there are a lot of specs that have been leaked today. So according to Drone DJ, they have actually released quite a bit of detail. And this isn't released, this is, a leak. And it's largely in Chinese, but if we look at it, we can see a lot of the detail. And so let's just kind of look at it a little bit. So first off, we have two different drones, of course. Just like we thought, there's the Mavic 2 Pro. No, it's not the Mavic Pro 2 like we've all been talking about for a long time. It is Mavic 2 Pro. Just like they do the Phantom 4 Pro, it's not the Phantom Pro 4, Phantom 4 Pro. So we got the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom. Now the biggest difference, it looks like, is the gimbal. Pretty much most of the rest of the specs from the gimbal and the camera is basically the same. Pretty much everything else, the gimbal and the camera are about the only thing that's different. The rest of the drone, according to the specs, is pretty much identical. So let's kind of run through those. So of course the Pro has that 1-inch sensor. I'm guessing it's going to be that Sony sensor, but they don't really say. Of course, it's got the Hasselblad lens, according to all the leaks. And again, I'm getting a lot of this from Drone DJ, Droning On, and other sites. But just wanted to make sure that you guys have this info that's out there. And hey Boxer, from Germany, huh? Hey Joe, long-time watcher and first-time texter. Thanks for joining me, man. Appreciate it. All right, so let's get to the specs. So really the difference is the camera, right? So we have the 1-inch sensor for the Pro, and we have a 1/2.3-inch sensor for the Zoom. Now, from my perspective, I'm a little bit disappointed in that in terms of the Zoom. I was hoping that it was going to have a slightly larger a sensor. There's a lot of rumors about a potential 1/1.7-inch sensor, so that would be slightly bigger. And really the reason why the sensor is so important is that really a camera is a light collection device. And if you have a little tiny sensor like this, and that's really, I mean, they're tiny, right? You can only collect so much light on a little tiny sensor like this, right? If you look at the lens or the sensor in a bigger camera, something like this, or even, so this is even bigger than 1 inch. I think this is like 1.5 inches or something like that, the sensor that's in this. And the sensor that's in an even bigger camera, the full frame cameras is much, much bigger. You guys ought to see the size difference. And really it's about light collection and how much light each pixel can grab. And that's why it's really important in terms of the size. A lot of times, size isn't necessarily important. There's all kinds of jokes that could probably go on there. But when we're talking about cameras, and whether it's talking about your drone camera or a camera like this or, a camera like this, there's all kinds of reasons why the sensor size really is really important. And so I was a little bit disappointed that the Zoom only has the 1/2.3-inch sensor. That's the same sensor size, anyways, that the original Mavic Pro has. It's the same sensor size that the Mavic Air has. It's the same sensor size that pretty much all the other consumer-level drones out there already have. So I was hoping that maybe with the Mavic 2, they would step that up, and of course they have with the Pro version, as according to all the leaks. And again, I'm kind of assuming that largely all these leaks are probably true. I think, given that we're about 24 hours away, we probably are. So that's going to be very interesting. And Joe, does it have price on it? I have not seen a price. The only place that I've seen a price listed is on the leak that was out yesterday. So I'll go to the Drone DJ site, and this is an image that was leaked yesterday, and it's got prices on it, but you can tell these are not real prices, so just absolutely ignore those prices that are on there. I'm sure they were just setting up their website, testing things out, and those prices aren't going to be correct. But Mayan, there are rumors out there that the Zoom is actually going to be more expensive than the Pro, and that's really curious if that really is the truth. And I'm not sure what I'm not really sure that I don't know. That just really surprises me. Now, you could say that, okay, well, a zoom lens, there's more glass in there. There's things that you have to move and so on. So maybe the camera is actually more complex when you have that zoom in there. But I have to think that the 1-inch sensor is probably more expensive. But maybe it's not in relative to the amount of glass and the other cost that it takes just to create that zoom lens. I really don't know. So it'll be interesting to see. There have been the rumors of the price of the zoom being higher. I think that's kind of curious. So we'll see if that really kind of works out that way. And let's see. So yeah, Joe, there is some. So there's been some rumors, of course, about the Mavic Enterprise. I really don't know. And Tech Guy, that is a great question about whether both would be the same price or not. That's actually a really good question on that, because I almost see that it could be like that. But one of my questions around that, though, is, are they going to differentiate the Pro and the Zoom in some other way other than the camera? Of course, if you have that zoom lens, you can do the dolly zoom. And if you guys have watched one of the latest teaser videos DJI's put out there, if you haven't, go check out their YouTube website and Twitter and so on. They've put out an ad just several days ago, and if you look at it, they've got like a canyon view or something like that, and it's that you zoom out while you're moving in and whatever. So with the zoom, you can do that dolly zoom. It'll be interesting to see how many people really play around with that. Of course, the Paradenofi has that same feature. I don't know that's, it's kind of a cool effect, but I don't know how often it's really going to be useful. But it's kind of cool to have in your back pocket, right? But you can do it, you can kind of fake it in post-production if you have, something like Premiere Pro or something like that, where you can, kind of manipulate things. So it'll be interesting. But I am curious to see how it manipulates, how they manipulate the differentiation. Whether the price is more expensive for the Pro or more expensive for the Zoom, or they're the same price. It'll be interesting. Or is the only differentiation between the Pro and the Zoom that the camera's different, or are they going to differentiate it in other ways, right? They of course have differentiated the Spark and the Mavic Air from the Pro in terms of the features that are capable, right? So the Mavic Air, it's a Mavic, right? But you can't do some of the things that you can do with the Mavic Pro in the software, right? In terms of things like waypoints in DJI Go 4, and there's other ways that they've differentiated the feature set in the software to make it so that the Pro is kind of more a more premium, and you could do more things with, even though the Mavic Air, is newer and so on. So it'll be interesting to see, how they position those, how they really actually market the difference between the two. So that's very interesting. Where's your wrench at? Honestly, that's a good question. I've not really played around with wrenching people yet, so I'm not near as experienced at this live thing as all those other guys that do this on a weekly basis. So maybe next time, Mike, maybe I'll figure that out. I don't want to waste time trying to figure that out on the air right now. So it'll be interesting to see how they differentiate that. I'm also curious to see the remote control. Of course, all the leaks that we've seen that have been out there have been in regards to the aircraft itself. That we've seen pictures of the aircraft. We really haven't seen the remote control. Of course, with the Mavic Pro, we have the little LCD screen on there that you can see some telemetry and so on. The Mavic Air, there's no telemetry, no LCD screen on there. You know, the Autel Evo, they brought you know, an OLED screen on there, so you can actually fly and you can view the camera on your screen. You can do pretty much everything you need to. You can change settings. You can do almost everything through the remote control itself. You really don't have to have a phone to be able to fly the Autel Evo. So I'm curious to see if DJI steps up into that realm as well with remote control. I think that would be awesome to see. You know, of course, with the Phantom 4 Pro, you can get the Phantom 4 Pro, which you have to use a phone with, or you can get the Pro Plus that has, you know, basically it's its own little Android device on there as well that gets firmware updates and so on. So it'll be interesting to see if that maybe is a differentiation point between the Zoom and the Pro. Is, you know, are they going to make differences between the remote control? You know, would they do the Zoom with, you know, the old Pro style LCD screen and the Pro with an OLED screen on it? You know, it's things like that. So yeah, so I appreciate it. So Mike, appreciate your comments. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how all that kind of plays out. You know, one of the things that I think is interesting, and maybe I've not noticed this before, but if we look in the specs, we have two different distances that are defined. So we have right here the 6,000 meters, and we have this 8 kilometers. So OcuSync 2.0. You can, of course, it says you can it'll basically stream the video back to you in 1080p, where the original Mavic Pro was only in 720p. And of course, it's OcuSync for the old Mavic Pro, 7 kilometers, which is that 4.3 miles, I think. And the new Mavic 2, it says it's going to be 8 kilometers with OcuSync 2. And so I think that's closer to like 5 miles or so. But they also have this 6,000 meters up here, so I'm not and they say for the Pro they have 5,000 meters. So I don't know what the difference is there between those two different numbers. And of course, I don't read Chinese. If some of you guys read Chinese, I would appreciate it. Hey, Megabyte 112, how's it going? So yeah, so that's interesting. Now, one of the other differences in the specs is the not just the camera sensor, but the fact that the Pro also has a mechanical aperture is what it looks like. So that's something that some of the early specs, the early leaks was looking like it was very likely to have. But it looks like you've got from f2.8 to f11. And the reason that is important is that a camera really is like your eye. Like I said, it's a light collection device, and it's managing that light that really makes a big difference. And having a mechanical aperture is kind of like your eye, have the pupil and the iris. You know, when it's bright outside, your eye your pupil gets really small, and when it's dark outside, your pupil gets really big, and that's really like the aperture. It's really kind of like your iris controlling how much light gets in, and that may be one of the reasons why when we look at the Pro here, if we look at this image right here, we can see it doesn't really look like there's a way to be able to easily screw on ND filters. Whereas the Zoom, it looks like there's probably a ring there, kind of like the Mavic Air has, that has threads on it where you can thread on an ND filter. And maybe the reason is that with the mechanical aperture, being able to change that, the iris there to allow how much light you let in, may be why that's the case. So I don't know that to be the case, but it'll be interesting to see. And so, apologize for the light changes and all that stuff. You hear dogs outside. I'm sitting out on my back deck, just enjoying a beautiful morning here. Hope you guys are having a great day. I'm curious where all you guys from that are on here. I saw Germany. Where else are you guys from? Mike, I appreciate that, man. Let's see, what else we got? The old Mavic Pro has 1080p at 30 frames per second, as well as 720p at 60. Yeah, so that's one of the other places where it looks like, and I think this is one of the places that people are maybe going to be a bit disappointed. The Mavic Air, of course, does 4K at 30 frames per second. The Mavic Pro does 4K at 30 frames per second. I think most people were probably assuming that they were going to step up to 4K at 60 frames per second, like a lot of the other competition out there. Autel Evo, of course, has 4K at 60 frames per second, and I'm really surprised that they didn't step up to that. They did up the 2.7K to 60 frames per second, where in the original Mavic Pro it was just at 30 frames per second. So, things like that are interesting. They also, Full HD, which is 1080p, went from maximum of 96p up to, or 90p, up to 120p. So that's kind of full slow motion right there. I think where cameras really get awesome is when you got 4K at 160, or sorry, 4K at 120. That's where cameras are really awesome. But in today's, even regular cameras like this, you really have to step up to a pretty high level camera to get 4K at 120. So I don't expect to see that in a drone for quite some time. Let's see, what else? Hey Bradley, North Carolina. Hope you're not melting out there with the heat and humidity. We got a beautiful morning here. The sun's kind of going in and out of clouds, so it's interesting. Joe, South Jersey, close to Philly. Nice. Philly is one place I haven't been to yet. I've been quite a lot of places for work and just traveling around, but I haven't been to Philly. I gotta change that sometime soon. Let's see. All right. So what else do we have in terms of the specs that are out there that are really kind of useful? One of the things is the ISO. We can see the ISO, and that's really the sensitivity of the sensor to light, and that's really more important for dark situations than it is for bright situations. With the sun out, you're generally going to be at ISO 100, so it really doesn't matter. But we can see that the Mavic 2 Pro goes up to 6400 and 12800. I'm not sure what the difference is there between those two numbers, the top number and the bottom number, but you can see the zoom goes up to 3200 on both those numbers, and the original Pro was up to 3200 and up to 1600. So I'm not sure what the difference in those are. I highly doubt that most of you guys will ever come anywhere close to using that high, because once you get up above a certain level, a certain number, especially with that small, the 1/2.3 sensor, its ability to collect that light just turns into graininess. And sure, you can use some post-processing tools to remove some of that graininess, but my experience with the Mavic Air is that once you get over about 200, if it's pretty dark outside, then you're just going to get way too much graininess. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to that 1-inch sensor, just that having more area for it to be able to collect that light per pixel, just hopefully is going to make a big difference. So so that's interesting. So so I'm curious. So what are you guys thinking about? Are you guys thinking about the Zoom? Or are you guys thinking about the Pro? For me personally, so the Zoom I think is a really awesome idea, but with the 1/2.3 inch sensor, I'm not sure that if you already have a Mavic Air or an existing Mavic Pro, does the Zoom really, if that's really the main selling feature, does that really entice you to want to buy it? So yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it comes down to price, right? What's the price really going to be? And of course, we've got the Mavic Air. I think is selling for what, $799 right now for just the aircraft, and then what, $999 for the Fly More combo. You've got and I think it's what, $80 per battery, something around there. The Autel Evo, which of course is one of the competitors out there, is $999 for the aircraft. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what their pricing is. I think everybody's assuming it's going to be more than what the Autel Evo is. but how much more is it going to be? And then I don't think anybody's heard anything about what the pricing, what the Flymore, what's the Flymore number going to be, right? And how many batteries is that going to include? So I think that's definitely going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to the Pro with that 1-inch sensor. I really think that Autel really kind of missed the boat. They kind of struggled on several things, but when they talked about that 1-inch sensor back in January at CES, that right there is what got everybody excited about the Autel Evo. There's the Autel Evo is a really cool aircraft, really cool drone, takes some really cool images. But I really think they missed the boat not having that 1-inch sensor. They talked about it, and sure, that was kind of prototype at that time. They probably weren't 100% sure what they were going to do, but not having that 1-inch sensor was really kind of, I think, missing the boat. And then their execution at launch was maybe a bit of a problem because not having that 1-inch sensor, was really the differentiation. Otherwise, it's largely similar to the Mavic Pro, and I'm not knocking it at all. It's a great aircraft, but it wasn't a step ahead. It was kind of like just stepping up beside DJI and saying, okay, I'm here. Where instead of really stepping putting a foot forward and saying, telling the whole industry, hey, we're here and we really mean something. We're not just kind of the me too. And so I think that's really kind of a big thing. Giving out free hamburgers, hot dogs, and sodas to everybody that hit the like button. Thanks, Mike. You're cracking me up, dude. Yeah, the tilted horizon issue for that Autel Evo, that's kind of been an ongoing issue. That's kind of the sloppiness of their launch. I think they've probably got that worked out, or almost nearly 100% worked out. Maybe not quite there, but there's just been hitches all along. And I really think that going back to DJI's first attempt at doing this launch back in July, I really think that that's why they didn't go through with it, right? They initially scheduled it because Autel and Parrot coming out with their drones, but once they saw what the Autel and Parrot did with with their drone, the Nafi, I just think that maybe they didn't feel rushed, right? Neither one of those really kind of brought their A game and really stepped up and pushed the industry forward. So, when DJI kind of saw that was the case, and they weren't, 1,000% ready for this Mavic 2 release, whether it was technical issues or it was just production issues, they just couldn't produce the quantity that they wanted to have available at launch time, whatever it is. They just didn't have to do that in July. If they weren't 1,000% ready, they just didn't have to, because nobody else really has pushed the industry forward. The Nafi has that the gimbal that goes up and down, all the way, but that is what it is. I don't know that, it's nice to be able to look up, but do you really need to look straight up? Not too often. There's going to be some times where that's useful, but looking up 30 degrees or something like that, maybe looking up 90 degrees, I'm not sure if that's 100% useful, but whatever. Thanks, James. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. Thanks everybody for joining. Beautiful morning here. I actually want to be out flying. I should be sitting here talking to you guys, flying my Mavic Air right now, but probably be able to pre-order tomorrow, but it'll be at least a month before their orders are filled. Yeah, I don't know about a month. I'm trying to remember. Do you guys remember the exact dates from the time that they did the announcement of the Mavic Air to the date that it was delivered? Was it a month? I was thinking it was maybe more like a couple weeks, but I'm not sure about that. I certainly ordered it during their presentation. For the Mavic Air, I ordered mine during their presentation. I got it maybe a day or two later than everybody else. Of course, I ordered the red one, so that was what everybody else ordered, and so I got mine a day or two later. And then when mine showed up, I had sensor errors and couldn't fly it, and had to send it back. So So that was interesting. Hopefully this one goes a little bit better. So me personally, I'm gonna be going for the Pro. I'm gonna unless the price is just crazy. There's a high chance during the presentation I'll be ordering the Pro. I'm curious, what are you guys gonna be ordering? Are you guys gonna be ordering? Are you guys gonna order anything? Are you gonna just hold out and wait on the price, or is there anybody just gonna buy it no matter what the price is, or do you have kind of a number in your head? Well, if it's no more than $1,000, I'm definitely gonna order it. Dang dogs. And that's not my dog, by the way. That's the neighbor's. And or is it like $12.99 and that's your ceiling, or is it $14? You know, what is your threshold? You know, do you have a threshold? Or are you planning to buy it? Or are you just looking to kind of enjoy, you know, seeing what they're bringing out and enjoy your Spark or enjoy your Mavic Air or your Anafi or whatever it is that you have? So that's interesting. Interesting to see what everybody's choice is going to be for that. Yeah, Mike, I agree. Pro for me, that's that 1-inch sensor, and for me, one of the big reasons why that 1-inch sensor is important is, again, that light collection. So one of the best times of day, in my opinion, to be taking pictures is sunset. Oh, there's the wind. Is sunset and right after sunset. You just get the most beautiful colors and stuff. And so having a sensor that can really deal with that dynamic range, the high dynamic range, is really one of the things I think a lot of people are going to be looking at for this release. Is what is that dynamic range? You know, the ground and the foreground is generally pretty dark, but when that sun's setting, the sky is bright, right? And so you want to be able to get that contrast, that you know, the bright sky. You want to still be able to see those clouds, but you still want to be able to see those trees and the skyline and whatever that's in the foreground. And you know, that's one of the things that I've really kind of struggled with my Spark and my Mavic Air is, you know, just that the dynamic range just isn't quite what I would like. Now, they're fantastic cameras. I think that you can get some great images and don't get me wrong with all that, but it's just not going to be the same as a 1-inch sensor if it's done right. And so yeah, it'll be interesting. Breaking open the piggy bank, huh? So for me, I'm probably selling some stuff to help kind of offset the cost of this. I don't know if you guys know, but I got 2 Mavic Airs, so one of them is going to be for sale. If you guys are looking for a Mavic Air, one of them hasn't been flown a whole lot. If you're looking for a Mavic Air, reach out to me. Catch me on either Facebook, Twitter, one of those, or in the comments here, and and let me know. Because I got a great Mavic Air. Hasn't been crashed, doesn't have a ton of flight time, and I'm going to be using that to kind of offset the cost of the Mavic 2. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you joining me. I want to keep this one kind of short. Don't want to spread it out for an hour. Hope you guys are having a great day. It's beautiful here. Hope it's beautiful where you guys are. Hope you guys get out and join. Get out and fly your drone. Get out and go fly it. I'm curious, what do you guys think? Should I try and do this tomorrow during the event? Is anybody interested in joining? If so, let me know, and I'll see if maybe I can make that happen. But anyways, I really appreciate you guys joining. Have a great day, and get out and go